We have seen in the previous video how to decouple the UI from the main activity, the questions list activity. Now in this tutorial, we are going to decouple the networking section. We are going to separate the networking logic from the questions list activity. So hello again, my friends, and welcome to our course. We are in the process of cleaning the code in order to use the dependency injection. So, as I told you, we have finished the UI cleaning and separating from the main UI from the main logic. And we are going now to decouple and separate the networking sections and codes. Now, we have created a new package called networking, and I have moved the questions list response schema, and I need to move single question response schema. These are for networking, and I need to create the two new classes for use case. These are will end with the use case, and this use case will be used and refer for us as a networking business. Okay, so I will create new package called questions. I will move the question to here and refactor. And also I need to move the question with body. So I'm just cleaning the packages and ordering the packages and the classes and make them into packages in order to make our app professional and ideal for cleaning and using and making a clean application architecture. I will create a new Java class inside the questions packages, and it is fetch question details use case. Okay, you can get the source code from GitHub. You can download it and start from this video. You can add these new codes. Okay, so the class fetch questions details use case will extend the base observable. We have created it before, and I will pass the fetch question details use case dot listener. What is this listener? This is an interface. So this interface will contain two methods. The void onFetch of questions details succeeded. It takes perimeter question with body, and void onFetch of question details failed method. So we have implemented this interface, and we need to implement these methods later on. We will create a private final Stack Overflow API, and I will create a nullable call of retrofit. So guys, it's very important to import the correct and the right package. Make sure it is the call of retrofit. We used public fetch question. This is the constructor of this class, and we create a retrofit call. And how to create it? I will create a retrofit object, new retrofit.builder, .base URL, add converter factory, and .build, as we have done in the main activity previous videos. Okay, so we are just decoupling and separating the codes from the main UI. We have finished making the constructor. Let's now start with fetch questions details and notify. This is a method that we will later use it in the question details activity. And in the same way, we will create for the details use case, we will create the list use case. So call equal Stack Overflow, and we will implement the two methods, the onResponse and the onFailure, because we are making the call and enqueue. Notify succeeded, and I will pass the response.body.getQuestions. Else, notify failed. Okay, these methods, we will create them later on in this video. On failure, if call does not equal to null and the call is not cancelled and the call is not executed, call.cancel. And I will create a new method called private void cancel current fetch if active. We have called it before. Let me check it. And in the same way, call does not equal to null and call is not cancelled and is executed. I need to, okay, I'm sorry, I have put it here inside this method. I need to put it outside this method, okay? So I will cut it and paste it underneath this, okay? I will create a new method called private void notify succeeded question with body question, and I will create a loop that loops for every listener inside the list, inside the get listeners, and listener.fetch of question details succeeded, and we will pass the question. And the last thing, I need to notify failed. So for every listener, we need to get it. We get from this listener, we fetch the questions of detailed failed. So this is the fetch question details use case. Remember, use case annotation or naming will be used for networking in our application. Okay. The same way, we need to create a new class, public class, fetch questions list use case. So this use case will be for the list. We have created the one for details. So the question have, when the user click on the questions, it will take him to the questions details activity. So we have created the questions details activity use case, and we need now to make for the list questions activity. The same way as we have done before, we will create a new interface having two methods, and we need to create the constructor passing the Stack Overflow API object. I know maybe it be sometimes confusing and it's hard to understand. I advise you to open your Android Studio and start building your codes from zero and step by step, and you write down every steps. You may be confused, and the step of dependency injection, the steps of decoupling UI, the steps of decoupling the networking logic, and these things maybe is confusing, but if you practice on them, sure, and believe me, it will be the simplest thing you may make. So practicing the code will make you a professional coder. The same way, we will make the public void fetch last active question and notify. This method will take the number of questions It's very important to revise the MVVM, the MVC, and the MVP patterns used in all apps. And for this app, we are using the MVC. In the previous videos, we have implemented it. And there is a big course that we have published in a previous for this video about the patterns. So you can go and check the patterns. Also, you can go to check the retrofit course and playlist on our course. Okay. So everything should work fine. We will implement we will create the private void cancel current fetch if active method, and this method will cancel everything if the current fetch if active. Okay, so we will use this method in such cases like internet is interrupted or whatever, the user goes out from the application. And the private void notify succeeded, we will create it will take a parameter of list of questions, and this list questions unmodifiable questions, where we'll create a new ones, and we will use the collections interface and unmodifiable list, and we pass the questions. Okay. In the same way, using the for each loop, and the private void notify failed. Okay, for every listener, get listeners and listener dot fetch of questions failed. Okay, so this is the fetch questions list use case. We have done the use cases classes. Okay, now you can make a new package and put this screens and activities on it, and you can make a package for the constants. But till now, it's good. Now let's go to the and remove and start cleaning our main activities and activities screens from the networking logic. So we have two activities: the questions list activity and the questions details activities. The first one, the main activity, is the list activity, which will display the list of questions. Okay, so we will remove the call, the interface of call of the retrofit, and we will implement the fetch question listener use case. Okay, so questions list view MVC. This is the first listener that it will implement, and the second one is fetch questions use case, list use case. Okay, so private static final, and I need to make a constant in number of questions to fetch. It is equal to 20. Okay, since we have implemented and the use case, and we are making our code clean, we need to separate the networking logic. So we need to remove retrofit and its calls and everything related to retrofit from our list activity. Okay, so here we need to remove retrofit and Stack Overflow API. Okay, and I will make it as networking fetch questions use case, new fetch question use case. Okay, and on start I will remove the call, and I will put fetch questions list use case. Okay, register listener and fetch questions list use case, fetch last active question and notify, and we will get the first 20 active questions. Okay, so what we are doing, we are removing the retrofit and the calls and the interfaces that we have implemented related to the networking. Okay, so remove the on response and on failure because we have put them into the list use case. And we will implement the two methods of the fetch questions list use case, which are the questions succeeded and questions failed. Okay, so mvc.bind the questions, it's very simple. And on fetch questions failed, we need to make the fragment manager. And this fragment manager will get support fragment manager, and fragment manager will begin the transaction and add server error dialog fragment.new instance. It will display the error dialog fragment. Okay, it's very simple, and the questions clicked will be the same. We have done with the list activity. Now let's move to the details activity, the questions details activity, and we need in the same way to remove the call and the retrofit interfaces and codes, and we will add our fetch question details use case listener. Okay, it's very simple, guys. We are separating the codes. We are removing the retrofit and its calls from the main activity and from the details activity. Okay, from the list activity and from the details activity. It's very simple. I hope you understand what we have done, and I'm sure if you practice it, if you open your Android Studio, write notes, watch our video again, understand every concept, every single line, everything about making these codes, why we are doing this, and you see the comments and you understand what I speak and lectured about it, it would be very good, and you will understand these concepts about separating the codes, the UI and the networking logic. Okay, now on the start, in the same way, I will register the listener, and on stop I will call the cancel and the fetch questions use case details use case on register listener.test. So one for registering and second for unregistering. In the same way, we will remove the on response and the on failure, and the on fetch questions details succeeded. I will bind with MVC by calling MVC.bind the questions past the question. Last thing, on fetch of questions detailed failed, I will make the fragment manager and display the dialog box for the user. Okay, so this is the questions details activity. Now let's run our application and see how it works. I hope you rate us 5 stars on Udemy and subscribe to our YouTube channel to give us motivation about making new videos and support us. Okay, it's working fine. This is the details activity and this is the list activity, working fine and much faster. Okay, and it's clean logic. Okay, clean app architecture. So please guys, you can get all these lessons written in on our applications free on Play Store. It's called Master Coding, and help us reach 1 million user, and it's very soon, and maybe you will be the 1 million user. So I hope you subscribe, like, share and comment for our YouTube channel videos, and you rate us 5 stars on Udemy, so you support us to make this app and this course the biggest and the largest course on the earth. So looking forward for any questions. And the next steps, we will start using this clean app, this clean architectured app for dependency injection, and we will start using the Dagger. So what we have done is decoupling the business logic from UI, and we have put it and to the questions list view MVC, and we have making the networking fetch questions list use case. Thank you guys. See you next video. See you next video. See you next video.